Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope y'all are having a great day today. So today we're talking all about blushes. So I went through all of my blushes and I picked out some of my favorites and ones that I would definitely recommend for brown skin tones based on a few things. So I thought about pigmentation and I wanted to pick ones that I think would easily show up on complexions like mine or ones that are a little deeper than mine. And I also took into account shade range because I like a certain type of blush color, but different people like different things. So with all of these options, there are a nice variety in the shade ranges. Some of them do have more colors to choose from than others, but I think with all of them, they do have a pretty good variety. And I picked ones that I think are really easy to work with, really easy to apply, very easy to blend out, and also ones that will last all day on your skin. So we're going to be discussing 5 blushes today, but there's definitely way more out there to choose from than the ones that I'm going to be talking about. These are just ones that I picked out of the blushes that I own. So if there's any that you want to add to the list, please feel free to drop them in the comments. So before we get into the video, if this is your first time on my channel, thank you so much for clicking on the video. My name is SonyaNicole and I post new makeup videos every week, including some stuff for makeup lovers who are 40 and over. So I really hope that you'll consider subscribing while you're here today. I would really appreciate the support and I would definitely love to have you join the channel. Okay, you guys, let's jump right into it. Okay, so I'm going to start off with the blush that's probably my most used since I bought it. This is the Rare Beauty Stay Vulnerable Cream Blush, and I have it in the shade Nearly Apricot. So that's what this one looks like here. So like I said earlier, one of the things that I took into account when picking these blushes is pigmentation. However, these blushes are not meant to give you a high level of pigmentation. They're meant to more so give you like a wash of color on your skin. So even though I wouldn't consider this to be highly pigmented, it is nice and pigmented for what it's supposed to be. So I'll usually reach for this blush on like minimal makeup days. So say if I have to jump on a virtual call for work, I don't want to do a full face of makeup, I might just throw some of this on my cheeks and go, because I feel like blush is one of those things that'll just kind of like instantly brighten your face and just instantly make you look a bit more put together without putting a whole face of makeup on. I have definitely worn this with a full face of makeup, but I do prefer to pair it with foundations that have more of like a natural finish as opposed to ones that are a bit more matte. So like you could wear this with something like a powder foundation. You would just have to put this on underneath the powder foundation. I mean, I guess you could put it on top, but it's definitely going to be a lot easier to blend it out underneath a powder foundation, if that makes sense. But I think because of the creamy consistency of this, it just pairs a lot better with foundations that have more of like a natural finish. So I'm gonna go ahead and swatch this for you guys. That's what it looks like on my finger here, and that's what the swatch looks like. So I hope that y'all can see on camera kind of like the dew and the radiance to it. This is basically how it's going to set down on your face. It's not going to set to anything that looks like a matte or like a powder blush. It's going to look just like this on your face, but of course more blended out. But this is like the consistency that you're going to get. So because it's not going to give you like that powdery feel even when it sets down, I just think it looks a lot better with foundations that don't have like a powdery finish. So I don't know if y'all can still see that, but that's what it looks like when it's blended out, and it's like a nice subtle wash of color, and that's just what it looks like on your cheeks. So sticking with cream blushes, let's talk about the e.l.f. Putty Blushes next. So I have these in 2 shades. I actually have another one that I'll show you in a little bit, but this one is the shade Fiji. And I'm not 100% sure what shade this one is because they don't put the shades like anywhere on the packaging. But this one is either Turks and Caicos or it might be Tahiti. So if you happen to have these blushes, particularly this color, let me know which one you think this is, because I'm not sure based on the picture that I'm looking at online. So I bought these blushes thinking that maybe they would be a drugstore dupe for the Rare Beauty cream blush, but they're actually not, because number one, the consistency of these is a little bit different. So if you've ever worn the e.l.f. Poreless Putty Primer or even the Tatcha Primer that the e.l.f. one is supposed to be a dupe for, if you've ever worn There's something else that e.l.f. has in the putty line, the e.l.f. Putty Eye Primer. If you've ever worn any of those products, this blush pretty much has the same consistency of it. It's definitely not as creamy as the Rare Beauty blush. This one has a bit more of like a stiffness to it, but the main difference between this and Rare Beauty is that the e.l.f. one is just a lot more pigmented. So if you think you want more of a creamy consistency for your blush, but you want something that's going to give you more of like a punch of color on your cheeks, then you definitely want to try the e.l.f. one as opposed to the Rare Beauty one. I'm going to swatch this one for y'all. This one is in the shade Turks and Caicos or Tahiti. I don't know which one, but I'm going to try to build that up just a little bit. Let me swatch the other one too, because the reason I have two of these is because these do come in more colors. These come in 8 shades, but they actually don't have like one shade that I like on its own. So I usually mix these two together. I'm gonna do another quick swatch of the Rare Beauty just so that we can compare them. So that's the Rare Beauty one down below, and I hope y'all can make out that if I were to mix these two shades together, it's gonna pretty much give me the shade of the Rare Beauty one, which is why I mixed the two of them together. I don't know if y'all can tell on my hand swatch here, but these two e.l.f. swatches, they're a bit more not only more pigmented, but they're a bit more of like a different consistency than the Rare Beauty one. It's hard for me to describe it, but the Rare Beauty one is definitely more creamy. Like these are a bit more, when I say stiff, I don't mean that in a bad way, but they're just not as creamy as the Rare Beauty one. So I hope that makes sense the way that I'm describing it. But like I said, the reason I bought these, I thought maybe it would have been a dupe, but the e.l.f. ones are definitely much more highly pigmented, to the point where, because they are not matte and powdery when they dry down, just like with Rare Beauty, I think that these would pair better with a more natural and a like liquidy foundation. But you could actually put this either on top of or underneath your foundation. Even if you put it on underneath and then you put your foundation over it, depending on the coverage of the foundation, it's still going to really show on your cheeks because these just have a lot more pigment to them. So the e.l.f. shade range will definitely give you more of a variety just because there are more shades to choose from. But just like with the Rare Beauty ones, they have a really nice mix of like some pinks, some peaches, some berry shades, and they have lighter and deeper shades also compared to Rare Beauty. So I do have one more cream blush that I'm going to show y'all in a little bit, but I want to save that one for last. So next we're going to move on to the Natasha Denona Blush Duo. So this one is in the shade, I believe it's pronounced either Tutu or Toto, but I'm going to put the name of the shade up on the screen because I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly. So that is what this one looks like here. So I got this from BoxyCharm, so I was not able to pick my own shade. This is not really a shade that I would normally use for blush. I like ones that are more so like the Rare Beauty one, that are more of like apricot or like peachy colors. So although this one isn't my go-to shade, it actually took me a long time to use this because of the shade that I got, but this is actually one of my favorite blush formulas ever, and I actually do get a good amount of use out of this despite the color. Because of the color, I would normally use this blush when I'm doing more of like a colorful eye look and I just don't want to have a whole lot going on my face. I'll use this one because it's a lot more subtle on my skin tone, but it does still really show up. But what I really like about this is the formula. It's a powder formula, as you can see, but it's so soft and silky. So I'm gonna also swatch this for y'all, and I wish that y'all could feel what I'm feeling just when I rub my finger through this. Like, it's just such a soft, silky blush color. I'm gonna have to kind of build this up so y'all can see it. Okay, so this is what the swatch looks like on my hand. So if y'all can kind of picture that on my cheek, it would be really nice and subtle, but it would still show up. And like I said, it's just really soft and silky, and it lasts all day. This is one of my favorite favorite formulas. I'm surprised that I haven't gone back and gotten this blush in another shade, but this is just so, it's just so soft. I wish y'all could feel it. But anyway, moving along. The reason they call this a blush duo is because, as you can see, in addition to getting a blush color, you also get like a complimentary like nude shade to go along with it. And what I like about this, it makes this blush really unique because you can actually use this nude shade to kind of like alter the shade of the blush if you wanted to. Say if you just really want this color to be just like slightly lighter than what it is, you can use the nude shade to do that, so it helps you like play around with the color, if you will. Another good thing about this is that it comes in 19 shades, and that's just like a really good shade range for a blush. So no matter what your shade preference is when it comes to blushes, you'll definitely be able to find an option out of this one. So next we have the NYX Sweet Cheeks blush. So these blushes actually come in two different finishes. This is one of the matte finishes here, but they come in matte and shimmery. So they have the same shade range for each of the finishes, but you can just choose between a matte shade or one that has a bit more of a shimmer to it, or a matte finish rather, and one that has more of a shimmer to it. So this one is in the shade Summer Breeze. So I actually have this in two shades because when these blushes first launched, I can't remember if this shade wasn't available in the initial launch or if it was just sold out at the time. I can't recall, but the shade Bang Bang, for some reason when these blushes first launched, this shade just kept calling my name, and I usually never buy blushes in this shade, but I just kept looking at this online and I said, you know what, I'm gonna try it. And when I first got this, I was wearing this like crazy, and I was hardly ever using like one of the blushes that have more of like a shade like this. However, when I was able to get this shade, I did pick it up, and then I've been using this one ever since. I don't think I really touched this one since I got that one because, like I said, I do prefer blushes that run in like this color family. Now I will say, in terms of the formula of this, I don't think it's quite as soft and silky feeling as the Natasha Denona one, but I do think that the NYX one is a bit more pigmented. So this one here is the shade Summer Breeze down there, and then this is the Natasha Denona blush up here. These are more pigmented, and on top of that, they do have a more interesting shade range, I'll say. I believe that these come in 8 shades, so in addition to having like your typical blush colors, your pinks, your peaches, your berries, they also have a couple of what they call artistry colors. They have a really bright yellow one and a purple one for people who just like to think outside the box, I guess, when it comes to blush. And again, you can also pick your finish, which is really nice. So I think most people, they prefer, like when it comes to like a powdery blush, I think most people do prefer a matte blush. But the good thing about having this in a shimmery version too is that some of the shades can actually double, or I guess all of them really could actually double as like a highlighter on your cheek too. So when you're using a blush that does have a shimmery finish, it's kind of like a 2-in-1 because you're giving your cheeks some color but also giving it glow at the same time. And lastly, we're going to talk about what is quickly becoming my favorite blush, even though this is only my 3rd time wearing it, so I do have it on today. This is the LYS Beauty Higher Standard Satin Matte Cream Blush. Now, number one, they just take the cake with their packaging. Their packaging is so pretty and unique. And just in case you're not familiar with this brand just launched like a week ago. They're now at Sephora, and you can also buy their stuff on their website. It's lysbeauty.com. But this is a new Black-owned clean beauty brand, and they make their products more on the affordable side for clean beauty. So definitely check them out if you haven't already. This one is in the shade Inspire. So that's what this one looks like here. When I first got this, I was thinking maybe it's a bit more on the red side than what I would like, but I don't think it looks quite as red on my cheeks. I do think it kind of translates to more of like a deep, almost like apricot shade, I guess. Now this one does have a unique formula out of the other ones that we talked about today. This one is a cream formula, but it does set down to a matte finish. finish. That's what it looks like on my finger here, and I'm going to swatch this one. So because it is a creamy formula, if we compare it to the Rare Beauty and the e.l.f. one, it definitely has a more similar formula to the Rare Beauty one, because like I said, the e.l.f. ones have more of like a stiffer consistency, I guess. This one is definitely more creamy, but it's also more pigmented than the other two. So I will say the first time that I used this, I applied it with this brush, which is the one that I would use for Rare Beauty or e.l.f. and I felt like this one, I was kind of like being extra careful when I was putting it on because this brush is a bit too dense for this kind of blush. And today I applied it with this brush instead. So this one, as you can see, it's just a bit more loose compared to this one because this is a pretty pigmented blush. So just like with the other blushes that we talked about today, they do have a nice shade range. It comes in 6 different shades, and they have a mix of pinks and corals and some deeper shades too. And they also have one that's like a really bright, vibrant color, and then they have others that are a bit more muted. But I would imagine, this is the only one that I've tried so far, but I would imagine just based on this one and then some of the other videos that I've seen, even the more muted ones, they do look like they're a bit more pigmented. So the first time that I put this on, I meant to put it on underneath my setting powder because it does apply as a cream and then it sets down as a matte, but I forgot about that, so I didn't put it on until after I had already set my face with the powder, and it applied just fine over the powder, but it also applies just fine underneath. If you want to put your blush on first and then go ahead and set your face, it applies just fine either way. And then this one, when it does dry down to a matte, it's really not like a powdery finish, it really is like a satin matte, so you have just like a subtle hint of glow, but it doesn't look like shiny or oily on the skin. Okay, you guys, so those are all of my favorite blushes that I would highly recommend for brown skin. So again, if you have any that you want to add to the list, let us know in the comments. I really hope that y'all enjoyed this video today. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe before you head out, and I will see y'all back here for my next one. Until then, take care. Have a good one, y'all. Bye.